Good morning, BC. It's Glen Kellaway. Just hot off uploading my weekly wrap up. Please join me every Monday morning for a weekly wrap up of what's been happening with me in the VC and what I've watched and stuff I'm up to, records I brought in, books I'm reading, whatever. We're just shooting the breeze. It's kind of an enjoyable 20 minutes. Please watch and comment. I love comments. Like or dislike, I like them both. Oh, Jeff at Calico Silver. I love this guy. He's always thought-provoking, and he always provokes me. I don't know why he's got this thing where he has to upset me all the time, but I'm just teasing. 15 questions for Beatles fans. Man, you know I'm going to respond to this one. Beatles and Dylan. Can't get better than that. So anyway, let's get started. 15 questions. Great video idea, Jeff. I appreciate it. Blue or white, or blue or red? Blue. I know you like the red, and you like the early Beatles. I love the early Beatles. I love the late Beatles. I just love the Beatles, so I had to pick one. And the reason why I'm picking it, because Strawberry Fields is my favorite Beatles song, and it's on this album. So there. Okay, question 2. US or UK albums? UK all the way. I grew up, I was around in '64 buying Beatles records in Canada. It was Meet the Beatles, Beatlemania, which was like the With the Beatles album, and Twist and Shout, which was a Canadian only release. Long Tall Sally, which was like in the US the Beatles' second album. You know, Hard Day's Night was the United Artists soundtrack. It wasn't the Hard Day's Night Beatles album, but anyway, these are the way the Beatles intended. That's what I've grown to love. I have great affection for my original Canadian Beatle albums and US Beatle albums. They're awesome, but if I had to choose, this is the way the Beatles wanted their albums presented, and that's good enough for me. Number 3. Ooh. Battle of the Albums. The first Please Please Me album, and With the Beatles. What an iconic cover that is. So cover-wise, that wins. I would say the first Beatles album is incredible. It starts with I Saw Her Standing There. What a great start. Man, Anna's on here. Great Arthur Alexander cover. Please Please Me's on here. Love Me Do's on here. P.S. I Love You's on here. Baby It's You. I love Lennon's vocal on that. Taste of Honey, Live Without, and Closer, Twist and Shout. What a freaking great record. Oh, this has got a killer opening track. It Won't Be Long. And then All I've Got to Do, All My Lovin', first song the Beatles ever played on Ed Sullivan. Till There Was You. I like their version of that song. Please Mr. Postman, one of my favorite all-time Beatle covers. Roll Over Beethoven, Chuck Berry cover. You Really Got a Hold on Me, which is going to come up later. Not a Second Time in Money. They do a scorching version of Money. Lennon's vocals on that is awesome. I got to go with this. Just the cover, it reminds me, the first Beatles album I bought was the Beatlemania one, the Canadian issue, which was the same cover, and so it's kind of near and dear to my heart, and this is the closest I get to that one, and yeah, just this album rocks. But I love them both so much. Okay, in case anybody's wondering, look at, I'm kind of doing this from my stereo Beatles box. So, oh my God, Jeff, you're killing me. These box sets came with the most beautiful books. I don't know if anybody, if you don't have These vinyl box sets, just incredible. Look at the hardcover book. Beautiful, beautiful. If you ever have the money to buy this, don't hesitate. Fantastic book. Beautiful. I'm just putting it out because it's easier to get the records out. Okay. Let It Be versus Abbey Road. Now, Jeff is not a big fan of Abbey Road, although he said he likes side 2, which is the greatest side of music ever recorded, as far as I'm concerned. Let It Be, I love Let It Be. I don't even mind the Phil Spector version, which was what the official release. Let It Be Naked is better, except it's the sound. I don't know what they did to it. It just sounds, I don't know. They didn't do a really good job. They should have done it analog. But anyway, Let It Be or Abbey Road. I gotta go Abbey Road. I love them both. It's like when you ask me to choose Beatles albums, like ask me to choose between my kids. Freaking can't be done. That's question 4. Question 5. Fave Disc on the incredible White Album. I always wondered why they called this the White Album. Sorry, my poor attempt at humor. Wow. Starts off with Back in the USSR. Now that's the Beatles tribute to the Beach Boys, not freaking Sgt Pepper. I know Paul McCartney's got this story that, oh, if it wasn't for Pet Sounds, that's where I got the idea for Sgt Pepper. Give me a freaking break, Paul. I never heard George Ringo or John make those comments. Just Paul always has. I love Paul, so he has this, I don't know, way of telling the Beatles story that's unique to Paul. But Back in the USSR is definitely a Beach Boys tribute, the background vocals and everything. And I even heard that they wanted the Beach Boys to play on this song. I don't know if that's true, but I read that somewhere. So yeah, the first album is just jam-packed with great songs. Dear Prudence, Glass Onion, While My Guitar Gently Weeps, Happiness is a Warm Gun, which is my favorite song on the album. Then side 2, Martha, My Dear, I'm So Tired, Blackbird, Piggies, Rocky Raccoon, Don't Pass Me By, Why Don't We Do It in the Road, I Will, and Julia. Holy crap. Birthday. If I had to rank my Beatles songs, it's not near the top. Your Blues, killer song. Mother Nature's Son, killer. Everybody's Got Something to Hide Except for Me and My Monkey, I like that. Sexy Sadie's great. Helter Skelter, incredible song. Long, 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 beautiful song. Revolution number 1, how can you go wrong? I Even Like Honey Pie, Savoy Truffle, Cry Baby Cry, Revolution number 9, and Good Night. I wish they would have found something else in those spots. Not a fan of either of those songs. They would also rank near the bottom of my Beatles favorite song list. So I'm going with disc 1. But what an incredible album that is. Okay. What's next? Loving this thread, Jeff. Thank you for doing this. Most underrated Beatles album. I'm going to throw a ball in there because currently this album gets slammed a lot. If you're on the Steve Hoffman forums, it's like, this album's overrated, it sucks, it didn't stand the test of time. So that's why I'm saying my favorite of all time is the most underrated. Sgt. Pepper, the greatest album ever made. What an accomplishment this was. Recording techniques and the album cover and putting lyrics on the album and the music itself, it's adventurous. Come on. This is the greatest album of all time. And people who are retelling history or whatever they're doing or reinventing it, give me a freaking break. This is the greatest album of all time, Sgt. Pepper. So I'm going to say it's underrated. Now, if I wanted to just pretend that wasn't the case, then I'm going with the album that seems to be everybody's pick, is Beatles For Sale. I think this is a great album. I understand the Beatles were really tired when they made it. They looked tired. They were tired when they were recording this album. A lot of touring going on, a lot of stuff going on, man. To find time in the studio to make a record was almost impossible. And they came up with a great one, especially the original compositions on this album. No Reply, I'm a Loser, and Babies in Black. What a great 3 songs to start a record. Yeah, this is great, and there's great covers on this too. Kansas City, Hey Hey Hey, Words of Love, a great Buddy Holly song. Honey Don't, Carl Perkins. Yeah, and Everybody's Trying to Be My Baby, Carl Perkins. George was a big Carl Perkins fan. This is underrated, for sure. Okay. Oh. Favorite album opener. I'm struggling with this one. My cousin Jack, JT Media, he picked Taxman, which is really good. I am going to say it's... Man, this is a hard one. Really hard. Putting too much pressure on me. I'm going with Drive My Car off of Rubber Soul. Now, getting back to the North American, I think that it's I've Just Seen a Face is the opening track on Rubber Soul on the North American version. Drive My Car is such a great song. I love it. So I'm going with that. This is such a friggin' incredible record. Okay. Favorite Beatles opener, favorite cover song of the Beatles. I'm going back to this album. I said I was going to revisit this song I mentioned earlier. You Really Got a Hold on Me. What a vocal performance from John. Freaking outstanding. Outstanding. My favorite Beatles cover song. Okay. Favorite song no one ever hardly mentions. Oh, it's not on any of the studio albums. I know it's on that Hey Jude album that came out, and it's probably on Beatles Past Masters. It is George Harrison's Old Brown Shoe. I don't know why, but I've always loved that song. I just think it's fantastic. Old Brown Shoe, George. Okay, favorite George song. I didn't have to think 2 seconds about this. Within You, Without You. I love it. It introduced me to world music, Indian music in particular, East Indian music, which I absolutely have a passion for. I love Ravi Shankar, Ali Khan, Zakir Hussain, Anushka Shankar. There's a few I'm big fans of. Yeah, thanks George for opening my ears. And it is a beautiful song with a beautiful message. Within You, Without You. We're all one. And life flows on within you and without you. If you could only have one Beatles album. You know what's wrong with the Beatles albums? They're too short. So now if I'm stuck with one, that's why I know Jack, JT Media, all one word. Please subscribe. He picked the White Album, which nothing wrong with that, but I think I have to go with this too because it's just the longest record. I don't know. I really would ideally take Sgt Pepper's. Other ones I would consider would be Revolver and Rubber Soul. So it'd be a fight between Rubber Soul, Revolver, Sgt Pepper's, and the White Album, but I guess I'd have to go with the White Album. Yeah. Okay. Oh, I should have pulled Satanic. I didn't. So, Sgt Pepper or Rolling Stones' Satanic Majesty's Request. It's definitely Sgt Pepper. I I love Satanic Majesty's Request. I play it all the time. I think it's a great record. I think the Stones did a great job on it. That's an underrated record. Sounds great too. Great cover, the 3D thing with the Beatles hidden in it and stuff. That's genius. Yeah, absolutely love Satanic. But Sgt. Pepper's is my favorite album of all time, so I have to go with Sgt. Pepper. Sgt. Pepper or Pet Sounds? It's Sgt. Pepper. I keep going on about Pet Sounds, and people are getting mad at me. It's just, I have a strong feeling about it. I'm sorry, you'll never change my mind. I'm like a grumpy old man. Get off of my lawn. Get off of my lawn and take your Pet Sounds record with you. There's like 3 or 4 good songs on it. Come on. The Beach Boys didn't even play on the frickin' thing. The Wrecking Crew did. It's not even, it's like saying, I love the Monkees, but I don't think they're the greatest albums ever made. They didn't play on their records until about their 5th or 6th album. Come on, man. How's that a band? It's ridiculous. Anyway, there's no comparison. And this Paul story about, there might have been something that made him think about doing so. He was on his way back from L.A. and listening to Pets. He heard Pet Sounds, and he got this idea of the Beatles becoming another band. They weren't really themselves, and they could be whoever they wanted and play whatever music they wanted. And that's how he came up with the Sgt. Pepper idea. But what the hell's that got to do with Pet Sounds? Come on. Which Beatles book would you recommend? I brought 2. If you're a huge Beatles fan and interested in their history, there's no better author than Mark Lewison. And there's no better book than the first series, Tune In, by Mark Lewison, The Beatles, All These Years, Volume 1. This is the Beatles history in depth, the way it should be told. It's a fantastic book. It's even just a lot of history about Liverpool back in the 1800s. It goes right back, and then up to through the war, and when the Beatles were born, what was going on, and details about their childhood, which is fascinating. The whole story's fascinating. This takes you up to 1962 when they hit the recording studio, and yeah, so like 50s, well, from the 1800s to 1962, basically. But what a historic document this is. Excellent book if you just like to read a great book. This is the one for you. Fantastic. I don't know when Volume 2 is coming out. This is pretty in-depth. There's actually a deluxe edition of this. This one is, I think, 700 pages. What does it say when you get past the notes? This is 800 pages. And there's another one with more detail in it that's like over 1,000 pages. So I don't know what else he talks about in there, because this book is so detailed. Fantastic. There's no better story than the Beatles story. You couldn't write it as a you just couldn't. If someone made that up as a novel, fantasy novel, or something, you wouldn't believe the story. It's incredible. What happened and all the people involved, and tragedies and successes, and amazing story. Highly recommend. Mark Lewison, Tune In. Great book. I just read this one recently. I think it just came out recently. Kenneth Womack, Solid State, 2019. The story of Abbey Road and the end of the Beatles. This is a great in-depth story of them recording Abbey Road. Lots of great stories in here. I learned a lot. Kenneth also has done George Martin biographies, which are phenomenal reads if you're interested in the recording process and George's life up to the Beatles. There's 2 volumes, and then his story with the Beatles. I think there's like 2 volumes of that, and it's great too. Kenneth Womack's great author, and yeah, highly recommend both these books. But this, a masterpiece. Tune In, Mark Lewison. Oh, what's next? Which 1970 solo Beatles album? This didn't take 2 seconds to come up with the answer. The Amazing All Things Must Pass. the greatest Beatles solo album. Ranks up there with the Beatle albums. I think it's an absolute masterpiece. I love this album. When I got back into vinyl for the third time, don't need to go through that nonsense again. This is the first album on my want list. George Harrison, All Things Must Pass. Love it. Okay. Which Badfinger album? Another no-brainer. Straight Up. Fantastic record. Great, great, great record. So many good songs. Take It All, Baby Blue. Man, Name of the Game's a great song. Day After Day is fantastic. Yeah, great, great record. Another tragic story that's Beatles related. 2 guys commit suicide. Crazy. But they were a great band, Badfinger. Jeff, thanks for doing this. That was fun. I enjoy it. I could talk about the Beatles and Dylan all day, so anytime you want to keep doing these videos, I'm in, buddy. One day maybe my daughter's has a house in Florida, in Orlando. Her boyfriend is down there in the house, and she's up here, stuck up here because of COVID and that. But when she gets moved down there, I'll be spending some time in Florida, and maybe one day you and I can share lemonade and talk music. Anyway, thank you, buddy, for doing this. I love all you people in the VC, and peace out to everyone.